This story happened to me in my childhood, roughly in the mid-80s, in a quiet Moscow courtyard where I spent my youth. We didn't talk about anything paranormal back then. We lived, completely unaware of the supernatural. Our scare stories revolved around movies about phantom loss. Our courtyard, consisting of 4 two-story buildings, was enclosed by fences, with a single entrance overgrown with grass and a small apple orchard. Ropes were strung on the apple tree branches for drying laundry. This was also where all our childhood games took place: hide and seek, battles, hopscotch, and football. In short, I knew every nook, every crack, every bush, and every cat in the courtyard. On that day, I found myself alone in the yard as all my friends and neighbors were occupied with something else. I aimlessly wandered beneath the apple trees, occasionally glancing at my friends' windows, hoping to see them come out. And then, in the grass, I noticed a string, or rather, its end with a knot. Just an ordinary clothesline, albeit dirty and frayed. Perhaps I would have walked past it, but the string moved. It ever so slightly crawled into the grass. I stared at it, and as if sensing my gaze, the string twitched and vanished into the grass. Who could be playing a trick on me? I thought and looked around. The yard was empty, showing no signs of life. It was a sleepy June noon when even cats doze in the shade, and dogs are too lazy to venture out of the burdock. I took a step towards the grass to search for the string, and then I saw the end of it flicker about 10 steps away, escaping behind an apple tree. Intrigued, I chased after it. Someone was playing with me, and I was eager to find out who it was. After circling the thickets, I eventually found myself at the corner house. It still had a stove on the upper floor belonging to Uncle Shura. Right before my eyes, the string circled around a log and disappeared into the burdocks near the entrance, where the elderly Mikhailovs, Grandpa Anton, and another unruly cadet named Pashka lived. I didn't want to venture into the burdock, so I circled around the thickets. This took some time. At the porch of the entrance, it was silent. Not even a fly was buzzing. After examining everything around, I concluded that the prank had ended. A few seconds later, out of the corner of my eye, I noticed movement at the far entrance. The string mysteriously lay on the steps of the porch at the doorway. It's worth mentioning that only one apartment was occupied in this entrance on the ground floor. Some gloomy gypsies lived there. However, they never caused any trouble, and we rarely saw them because they worked somewhere at the market from early morning until late at night, sometimes even spending the night there. The other apartments on the first and second floors had been sealed shut long before my birth. One of them, upstairs, we kids managed to sneak into once by selecting the right key from our collection of lock keys. It was empty, dusty, without furniture or household items. In any case, whoever was playing this trick on me, it certainly wasn't the residents of that house. Maybe it's Tolka, I thought, recalling that he was known for elaborate pranks. Although for such a prank, the string would have to be quite long, and I wasn't sure if it could be manipulated so skillfully from inside the house. At the time, I had no doubts, and without fear, I stepped into the cool shadows of the entrance. When my eyes adjusted to the darkness, I saw the string silently gliding up the stairs to the second floor. It was then that I paused for a moment, wondering if what was happening fit within the bounds of the ordinary. But I was an 8-year-old child, and such thoughts hadn't become part of my thinking yet. My heart raced with anticipation. Reaching the second floor, I lost sight of the string again. It dangled from the attic entrance. Getting up there and onto the roof of the house had been a long-held dream of ours, if only because a Linkus ball had gotten stuck in the rainwater pipe up there, and the view from the roof had to be fantastic. However, the exit to the roof was not locked, but sealed with thick iron grids crossed in an X pattern. No one knew the reason for this, not even the longtime residents. The elderly inhabitants said they did it to keep the children from climbing up, just to get rid of our pestering questions. And now, the iron grids were missing, the hatch was open, and the string hung tantalizingly from it. I felt like a kitten with a toy, tethered to a string. The desire to unravel this mystery pushed me to climb into the attic. Moreover, who knew how long the opportunity would last? Afterward, no one would believe me, or if they did, they'd mock my hesitation. It's important to understand that if I hadn't climbed up there, this story would never have become part of our scary tales. So, I grabbed the rusty ladder rungs and began climbing, with my heart pounding in the background of the ringing silence. On the attic, it was brightly lit as the light freely penetrated through the cracks in the roof, and dust hung in the air like a column. On the floor, I discovered a fresh trail left by the string. It led behind a plywood partition, and the end of the string could barely be seen in the corner. In 2 bounds, I reached the barrier and peered behind it. There, I saw the most horrifying thing in my entire life, something you could never forget and never imagine anything similar. At the end wall of the house, there sat an extraordinary creature, thick and roughly human-shaped, bald, eyebrowless, with huge yellow eyes that covered half its face. You might sometimes see such creatures in animated owls and felines. The creature was clad in an incomprehensible sack-like garment with a crumpled hood on its shoulders. And this creature was laughing. Well, at first, it chuckled soundlessly. But when I burst out and stood stupefied, it burst into a cackling, eerie laughter, the kind no human would ever produce. At the hem of its clothing lay a massive spool of string, and from the hanging sleeve, it held the end of that string. Then, I screamed. The creature laughed even louder, but didn't take any action against me. It simply seemed pleased with my reaction, evidently deriving joy from its own amusement. Those moments are etched in my memories as an eternity of horror. Afterward, I rushed to run. I literally leaped into the entrance, hearing the repulsive laughter behind me, haphazardly jumping through the staircases and bursting into the courtyard. There, after crossing to the other side, I wailed beneath my own windows. But no one came to my aid. The quiet of the June noon gradually calmed me, and I started to think a little more clearly. The rest of the day, I spent outdoors, where it was livelier and everything that had occurred seemed less real, until my parents returned from work. My shouts had not only alarmed them, but also gathered some of the neighbors who had arrived after hearing my cries. In a massive group, residents from the surrounding apartments headed to that very entrance. And indeed, the entrance to the attic was open, with traces of my presence on the attic floor and evidence of the string. Even the stool was standing by the wall. But we didn't find any monsters or signs of its presence there. The adults scratched their heads, smirked, put on wise faces, and reassured me that everything would be fine. I didn't believe them, but the other kids did. We continued to check the attic many times, making sure the creature didn't return, until the adults decided we might fall off the roof and sealed the entrance once more. Nevertheless, it was real. As far as it seems to me now, it was merely playing with me without any intentions of eating me or causing harm. Well, my reaction wasn't favorable, which scared me. The creature just spent its time amusing itself, whatever it was doing on that sunny day in the hot June of the mid-80s of the last.